Did you know in 2013, heroin has claimed over 170 lives in Cuyahoga County? And that is from Cleveland.com 2013. As a chemical dependency counseling student, I have been following and studying the heroin epidemic since the beginning of 2013. For those of you who are unaware of the heroin epidemic, the information I'm going to talk about will give you a better understanding of how people can get addicted to heroin. Heroin is becoming a dangerous problem in Ohio, and to understand the impact of heroin, we have to look at what started the heroin epidemic, who it affects, and what is being done to stop the problem. First, how did the heroin epidemic start? According to HealthyAmericans.org 2014, Ohio has the 12th highest drug overdose rate in the United States, with 16.1 per 100,000 suffering from overdose deaths. Heroin addiction can start with prescription pill use, and people go to the doctors to get a prescription for pain, and soon after that they become dependent and no longer can get a prescription, so they look elsewhere to get the high, and they eventually find heroin. Heroin is readily available on the streets, and heroin is cheaper than prescription pills and also more potent. Next, who does the heroin epidemic affect the most? People young and old, rich or poor, may suffer from heroin addiction and overdose. Big cities used to deal with heroin. Now the problem is focused on the suburbs and the younger generation. Drugfree.org 2014 states that even a single dose of heroin can lead a person on the road to addiction. Here is what's going on here. There's preteens, teens, and young adults who can become addicted to prescription pills, either experimenting on the streets, buying them from dealers, or they can get hurt and go to the doctor and actually get a prescription. And some of the pills they can get are codeine, Vicodin, Oxycontin, Percodan, and the biggest one is fentanyl. And if they become addicted to these drugs, one time they're not going to be able to afford them or get a hold of them, so they find heroin instead. And as I stated before, heroin is more readily available and is easier to find on the streets, cheaper, and more potent. And as you can see in these pictures below, these two women have used heroin 2 years apiece, and you can see the drastic effects that they have in their faces. This woman is probably 26 or 27 years old, and you can see 30 to 40 years added into her face from heroin. So finally, what is being done to stop this epidemic? In a 2013 issue of Morning Journal Crime, Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine states that he has organized a team of investigators, lawyers, and drug abuse specialists to further investigate addiction, overdose, and crime relating to heroin. Heroin is taking more and more lives every day. Now you know how the heroin epidemic started, who it affects, and what is being done to stop it. Maybe you can find a way to help stop heroin addiction. Heroin addiction and overdose has to be stopped, starting with a restriction on who is able to get prescription pills, and also the dealers and drug traffickers coming into Northeast Ohio, selling to the teens and young adults. That is my presentation on the heroin epidemic of Ohio. Now, does anyone have any questions?
No.
Yes.
Is heroin the #1 deadly drug in our country?
No, it's prescription pills and fentanyl, what I was talking about up here, that's what's added to heroin now, and it's making it more potent and killing more people.
But you said it is easier to get.
Yes, it is.
It's not as deadly, so that stuff is more
Yeah,
harmful.
this is harder to get, but it's more deadly. This is deadly too, but pills are stronger.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So if you shoot heroin for the first time, you're addicted after the first time.
If you use a needle the first time, you're addicted, but if you snort it, you don't get addicted the first time. What time is it? Okay, what time is it at the end? Hopefully he accepts that. Those are my questions. I had questions to ask. But why did you're like